Hey there and welcome back to another Unreal 4 Shmup tutorial. So, in this video we will be running through the enemy class 1 and 2 and just doing some general tidy up there to get those functioning in the way that we want. Pretty much everything's done, so there's only a few steps we need to take. The first of which is we're going to go to the project settings and we'll correct the collision that we have for those classes. So if we go over to the collisions tab just here, we want to add a new object channel. So this is just going to be a new collision channel and we'll call this one enemy. Leave this to block by default and just accept that. So that's everything done. If we then go into the BP enemy base class, first of all, there's a couple of things we want to change in here. So the first of which is none of this is going to work anyway because we don't have the sweep on down here, which is under the event tick where we're actually setting the movement. So we want to enable the sweep, and this will just set whether or not collision is being detected as they move. Otherwise they kind of teleport through things. So that's the first step, and we're doing this in the base because that's going to be the same for all of our classes. The next thing is we're going to go down to the static mesh, and we want to change this from blockable. We'll change this to custom, and we want to give this the type of enemy, so the object type will be enemy. So we have our own collision layer, and we're going to do that so that we can ignore all other enemy types. But for everything else, we'll just leave this to be blockable. So this means that this will block and hit the walls, the player, projectiles, but other enemies will just let them fly through each other. And of course you can change this if you wanted to, but it's the kind of thing that I've seen a lot in shoot 'em ups, and I'm just going to go with that style, even if it looks as though they're flying under each other or something. That's the impression I normally get. So we'll let those sweep and ignore each other. We still want to leave the sweep off up here because the spawn animation, we don't want anything to block it when it's coming into the world, but we do want it to sweep and detect collisions when it's actually moving side to side. And then the final thing, I think on the distance from player, we left that as 0. And for everything, I just think 120 works quite well on this. So we'll change that to 120, and that will filter down to both of the enemy class types. So I believe that's everything that we need to do inside of the enemy base for now. So for enemy 1, we'll just double check everything's set up correctly. So yeah, that distance is filtered through and that's worked correctly. And if we go into this, actually, we'll see that the collision has updated for that as well. So this is also custom and type enemy. And we'll just double check everything for enemy 2. There's no reason this wouldn't have worked, but it's always worth being safe. So again, distance from player is 120. Remember, that's just going to be the distance we set for when we start firing. We need to be 120 units within the player before the enemies will begin to fire. We haven't set that up yet, but it's just worth knowing for the future. And then for the collision, we'll double check that the custom's gone down. So if we press play now, we should have some of the enemies coming in. And what I would expect to happen is that will now hit the wall and at least stop. That's fine. So we haven't put all of the logic in, but we're getting a little bit closer as they're now not flying off screen. And in fact, I remember that implementation was actually really easy. So I'm going to close the other two classes and we'll open up the enemy base, and we can actually do this really quickly to get this sideways movement bouncing back and forwards working correctly. So all we want to do is in the base class, we'll find an event hit function. And what we want to find, first of all, we're going to do a cast. And we're going to cast to the projectile player base. So we want to find out if the thing that hit us, was it a projectile from the player? So then if that cast failed, which means it wasn't, which means we've hit something else in the world, which is either the player or a wall. So we want to swap the direction we're moving. So we will set move direction. And all we're going to do is we're going to get a not boolean, and we will take in our move direction. So this is simply saying that set the move direction to be whatever move direction currently isn't. So if it's true, which means it's moving right, then it'll be false, so it'll start moving left and vice versa. And we're going to come back here later, as this will also be where we control the damage, but I don't want to get into the damage just yet. I'll leave that to be its own thing. So that should be the movement complete now though. So if we go back in and play, what we should find is they'll start bouncing back and forwards. And obviously the asteroids will need their own movement implemented altogether, but we can see player 1 is, or enemy 1 at least, is doing exactly what I want enemy 1 to do. And because the enemy 2 logic is exactly the same, that also means that we know that enemy 2 will be working when we bring that in as well. So as I mentioned, to try and keep these nice and clear, I will separate all of these out into their own separate videos. So that is the enemies tidied up and the movement added. So I'll leave that as one video today. As always though, if you've enjoyed this or found it useful, then please do leave a like. And if there's anybody you know that you think may be interested as well, then do share it around. If you'd like to be kept up to date with the latest content on the channel from any of my playlists, then do hit the subscribe button. As always, a big thank you to the current Patreon supporters. And if you'd like to help keep this channel going, then do consider checking out the Patreon page, as even the smallest donations will help me to continue to improve the content and allow me to keep making these videos for everybody. As ever though, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.